abundance of friends, abundance of financial resources, abundance of options.
An abundant state of mind is different than a scarce state of mind.
Critical to being in that top 1% is the mindset of abundance. Mindset of abundance.
Okay, the more abundance you have, the more attraction she will have for you.
Myth number 1. Have an abundance mindset. You will hear this from dating coaches all of the time, as verified by the clips I've just shown you. And if you've not heard of this teaching before, here is a brief overview. So it centers around this idea of pretending that you have loads of options. If you're the man with the options, if you're the man with the abundance, then the girl that you're interested in is going to want to chase you instead of the other way around. Like, you will often see salesmen use these kind of tactics. So they might tell you something like, "Oh, it's fine if you don't want to buy the car today. I have 5 other people interested in it anyway." By the car salesman saying that, you might be more inclined to increase your level of interest. You might think to yourself, "Oh, well, if 5 other people are interested in this car, what is it about it that I'm not seeing? What is so high value about this car that I'm missing?" Therefore, your perceived value of the car will go up. So going back to dating, it's the same principles being applied. If you have loads of options, or at least pretend you do, then your perceived value will be increased. Redpill dating coaches will tell you that you can display this by always having something going on in your life. So if you're the one where the party's at, if you're the one who gets to choose which plans you want to attend to, if you're the one with the options, the abundance, then the theory is that women will want to be a part of your life. They will want to get a piece of that abundance. And lastly, you should pretend that you're not interested. You are the prize, they will tell you. This last point puts the chase on yourself rather than you putting the chase on the girl that you are interested in. So pretty much to summarise this whole idea, I could describe it as an abundance mindset leads you to being portrayed as a scarce resource, and being a scarce resource means that you're going to be highly sought after. Just look at the real world. There's a reason for why people are willing to pay such high prices for things like gold and oil. These are scarce resources, so people are willing to pay large quantities of money to be able to get their hands on it. So, this all sounds good, and the theory sounds promising, it sounds well intended, but why doesn't this work? Why is this terrible advice for any man who's struggling with dating? Why have the Redpill dating coaches got this so wrong? Well, it boils down to simple supply and demand. By trying to portray yourself as being a scarce resource, you are pretty much trying to say that you are in short supply. But the problem is, if there is no demand to match that level of short supply, then it won't change people's perspectives at all on how valuable it is. There needs to be a given amount of demand for something in the first place if it wants to be sought after. Here's an example. Let's say that the company Apple releases a brand new phone, and they tell you for the first month of its release there will only be 10,000 of these made. For the first month of its launch, only 10,000 of these phones will reach its shelves. So why is this relevant? Well, clearly, for a company like Apple, if they make a product which is in very short supply, then yes, people are going to be willing to fight over this product, and potentially pay higher prices for it. But this is for a company like Apple, which already has an established reputation, and consumers are already aware, given its history, of its outstanding product quality. Meanwhile, let's say that another phone company plays the exact same tactic, of only producing 10,000 phones for the first month of release, and it's from some company that you've never heard of before. It's just called Best Phones. What reaction will be expressed after this is played out? Well, people would laugh. They would find it hilarious. People are going to say things like, "Nobody wants your junk phone anyway." Why would making a phone that nobody's ever heard of, that is probably of rubbish quality, a scarce resource, make any difference for people's level of interest? It's quite simple, it wouldn't. This company would be a laughing stock. So my question to the Redpill dating coaches is, why would this be any different for when it comes to dating? Again, same principles being applied. Let's say that we have some below average man who's trying to pretend that he's the one with loads of options. He's the one of high value. What is going to be a woman's reaction to this? I mean, come on, it goes without saying. They're not going to care. They are going to laugh in your face. They are going to think you are delusional because of that disparity of how valuable you think you are to how valuable you actually are. Be real for a second. If Todd Valentine, who's one of the dating coaches that I showed in the clip at the beginning, if this man told women that he was swamped with options, he was the one with the abundance, would anyone be at all convinced by this narrative? It's laughable. It's laughable. I can summarise this first point with just this quote. "I don't care how scarce you make a piece of shit, no one will want it. And today's below average men to women are like a piece of shit." So that's point number 1. And now I've got that out the way, now is a good time to press the like button of the video and leave any thoughts you have in the comments below, as it helps the YouTube algorithm. Anyway, moving on to the second red pill myth in relation to dating. Just go to the gym, bro. Again, you will hear this from red pill dating coaches all of the time, telling you how important it is to look after your body and be in good physical condition. Now before I start, I just want to say that I'm not going to deny the fact that going to the gym and losing weight is a viable option in terms of increasing your SMV. It does make a huge difference. However, I am going to outline 4 times, yes 4 times, where going to the gym will not work. If you fall into any one of these 4 categories, then going to the gym may as well be pointless. And in fact, it will only cause you detriment. It will make your situation even worse than it was before. So number 1, and this should come as no surprise to you, manletism. This is when a man of below average height goes to the gym, and rather than making him look more dominant, more alpha, he ends up just looking like a pathetic, little, aggressive, angry leprechaun. It looks like you're overcompensating, and women aren't going to find this attractive. As for the cutoff point, in my opinion, manlet height begins at 5'9" or below, so if you're in that 5'8", 5'9" range, then you might start looking like a bit of a manlet, and 40% of men are below this height. But I believe it gets severe for anyone who's less than 5'7". This is super manlet territory, and it's definitely not worth putting in the time and effort to go to the gym at this height. And 15% of men, roughly 1 in 7, fall into this category of being 5'7" or below. The second time going to the gym will cause more harm than good, is what I call frameletism. This is when your skeletal structure prevents you from having an aesthetic body, and these can be denoted by having sloped shoulders, such as these 2 men here, having improper hip, waist and shoulder ratios. So if we take a look at this man here, his shoulders aren't much broader than his waist or hips, and that is largely going to be determined by the bones in his frame. Having misshapen or warped abs, such as this man on the left here, and also having disproportionate limb length, such as this man with noticeably short arms, and so on. And the point I'm trying to make is that all of these things are determined at birth by your genetics, therefore going to the gym won't necessarily give you an aesthetic body. Number 3, lankletism. Have you ever seen one of those guys where no matter how much they go to the gym, no matter how much they eat or how much protein they take, they simply remain skinny? And combined with tall height, this can exacerbate this idea of lankletism. And the genetic reasoning behind this is because of the 2 different types of muscle fibers. So the muscle fibers in your body will be one of 2 types, either fast twitch or slow twitch. So what are the differences between the 2? Well, fast twitch muscles are explosive. These are your sprinters, long jumpers, high jumpers, and they release energy very quickly. Meanwhile, slow twitch muscle fibers are more tailored towards endurance. So these are your 5k runners, marathon runners, steeplechasers. The second difference, and this is the most important one, how each muscle type responds to training. So fast twitch muscle fibers respond to hypertrophy. When you work these muscles, they increase in size. That's the key point, size. Meanwhile, when you train slow twitch muscle fibers, they increase in density, not in size. Yomif Kajelcha might be able to run sub 4 minute miles with ease, but no amount of lifting weights will make any drastic changes to how much muscle he can put on. And the last point is that fast twitch fibers will produce high mass muscles, while slow twitch fibers will produce lean mass. And the important point to note is, the reason that I'm bringing all of this up, is that your ratio of fast twitch to slow twitch muscle fibers is determined at birth. And while most people have a 50-50 split, if you are unfortunate enough to be born with a very high concentration of slow twitch fibers, for example 80%, then that is going to make it exceedingly difficult to put on muscle. So if you're one of those guys I mentioned earlier, who no matter how much you go to the gym, no matter how many calories you eat or protein you take in, you still cannot put on muscle, then it is likely because you have a high concentration of slow twitch fibers. And combined with tall height, this is the concept of lankletism. Lastly, moving on to point number 4, where going to the gym will not help you. Gym selling. This is where a man has a very subpar face, on top of a very attractive, aesthetic, lean body. There's a very simple reason for why each of these men isn't attractive, and I can sum it up in just one word: compensation. A good body complements a good face, not the other way round. And in my opinion, these men have actually made their situation even worse by going to the gym. The disparity between their subpar face and gym body is laughable. I want to pay closer attention to this man, who some of you might recognise as Vegan Gains, to elaborate on my point even further. This is what will happen to you if you try dating as a gym cell. So this is Vegan Gains and his partner Jasmine. Here's a bit of information about Vegan Gains. So quite evidently, he has spent hundreds if not thousands of hours in the gym already. and many would consider him to have reached his peak in terms of physical fitness. He has a large following, is high status, and has a YouTube channel of over 300,000 subs. And lastly, he is also a successful entrepreneur, so he's wealthy too. So after all of this is taken into account, what is the result of this? What is the result of all of this hard work? Well, he gets a relationship with a 4 out of 10 introverted woman, and although it's not necessarily an issue that she is introverted, it does make their conversations really awkward. Like, I've watched a few of their Q&A videos, and I'm cringing at just how uncomfortable the conversation between these two people are, especially Jasmine. For every 50 words that he says, she will say about 5. They are also in a long distance relationship, so that means you also have to take into account all of the hours and money spent on travel expenses, so this is even more investment on his part. And lastly, if we take a look at this here, this is a screenshot taken from her Twitter account. And if you look real closely, oh yeah, she has OnlyFans. So if we look at this in plain and simple terms, the man who has put in unthinkable amount of efforts, he's pretty much maxed out what you can do in terms of behavioural changes. He's improved his physique, he's high status, and he's wealthy. Those are the 3 key most behavioural changes you can make as a man: health, wealth, and status. And he's done all 3 of those. And what's the result? Well, this mess. It's a joke. The inputs don't even remotely line up with the outputs. And I want to bring up one more thing to add even further insult to injury. So Jasmine originally broke up with Vegan Gains, and he posted a video explaining why that breakup happened. And the main reason behind it was because she said that he is not spiritual enough. Like, I was laughing when I first saw this. It is unbelievable the extent to which people are willing to blue pill themselves for the sake of a cuckolding relationship with a girl who has OnlyFans. He'd rather do this than face the truth. And Vegan Gains actually originally took the video down because of how many people were calling him out for being deluded. I mean, just look at the comments, even they were roasting him. The spiritual BS that she gave is just a cover story. She is not attracted to you. I find this whole situation unbelievable and laughable. If he can't see the wood for the trees in this situation, he's only deluding himself. This is what will happen to you if you try gym selling with an unattractive face. So, these are the 4 times that going to the gym will not work, and in fact will only make your situation worse. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to press the like button and leave a comment, as it helps the YouTube algorithm. And if you enjoy this style of content, be sure to check out part 1, where I debunk 3 other Red Pill teachings. I go over in depth of the terrible idea known as cold approach, and why you should never use it as a sub 5 male. It's a really good video, I'd highly recommend you check it out. A link will definitely be in the description box below.